The world had long forgotten what true silence sounded like. Machines whispered through the air, drones glided over the cities, and neon lights hummed even in the deepest hours of the night. Humanity had learned to live with constant noise, endless data, and the illusion of progress. Yet somewhere between those bright towers and endless signals, there were moments that no one could record. Moments that vanished before cameras could blink, before sensors could understand. Those were the moments where their story began. Aaron was not special by any measure. He was a data technician working for the Orbital Network Bureau, one of the thousands who maintained the massive communication webs around Earth. His days were filled with routine, checking data streams, fixing code errors, and ensuring satellites spoke the same language. He had grown used to a life where every thought and movement was connected, recorded, and analyzed. Privacy was an old myth told by dreamers, but sometimes Aaron felt strange breaks in the network. Tiny pulses, almost invisible, like someone whispering through the static. They weren't errors. He was sure of that. They were something else, something intentional. When he reported it to his supervisor, she told him to ignore it. Ghost code, she said. Happens all the time in old systems. But deep inside, Aaron couldn't forget the pattern he saw. It wasn't random. It was too perfect, like a heartbeat. That night, after his shift ended, he stayed back at the control station. The city outside glowed silver and blue, the air buzzing with signal traffic. He ran a private scan through the archived satellite data. Hours passed. Then he found it again, and the pulse. 3 soft beats, then a pause. 3 more. A rhythm too precise to be accidental. He tried to trace it, but every time he got close, the data vanished, overwritten by normal communication. It was as if something was hiding between seconds, slipping through time when no one else was looking. Then, something appeared on his monitor, a brief flash of text. It lasted less than a second, but he saw it clearly. "Can you see us?" Aaron's heart stopped. His hands trembled. He replayed the data again and again, but the message was gone. No log, no trace, only empty static. He told himself it was a glitch, a trick of tired eyes. But when he left the station, the world outside looked different, quieter somehow. The neon signs flickered slower. The traffic lights seemed delayed by half a second. And for a brief instant, he thought he saw a shadow moving between the reflections of the glass towers. Not outside, but inside the light itself. The next day, Aaron couldn't focus. The message haunted him. "Can you see us?" Who was us? What did they mean? At lunch, he sat alone, staring at the city skyline from the bureau's cafeteria window. That's when someone sat across from him, a woman he'd never seen before. She was quiet, her expression calm, but her eyes looked like they held more stories than words could ever tell. "You found the pulse, didn't you?" she said softly. Aaron froze. "Who are you?" "Someone who used to work where you do," she replied. Someone who stopped believing the data was all there was. Her name was Lyra. She said she used to be a field observer, one of the few who traveled between orbital towers, collecting live visual data. But she had been dismissed for unauthorized observation, whatever that meant. She leaned closer. "Those signals you found, they're not random, they're echoes of something that shouldn't exist anymore." "Something human," Aaron frowned. "You mean people?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Not exactly alive, not exactly gone either." He laughed nervously. "You sound like a ghost story." She smiled. "Maybe that's all we have left." Lyra told him that years ago, during a global experiment to digitize human memories for preservation, something went wrong. The data cores became unstable. Billions of memory fragments were lost, or at least that's what the Bureau claimed. But Lyra believed some of those fragments didn't vanish. They merged with the network, becoming part of the endless code, invisible, but still alive in moments no one could perceive. Aaron didn't believe her. Yet deep inside, something clicked. The rhythm, the pattern, 3 beats, a pause. Like a code for communication between 2 worlds, the physical and the digital. Before she left, Lyra handed him a small glass chip. "Plug this into your console when you're alone," she said. "And don't tell anyone." That night, curiosity won over fear. Aaron sat at his console, lights dim, the city asleep. He inserted the chip. Instantly, his screen filled with 1,000 symbols moving too fast for human eyes. Then everything froze. A single line appeared. "Time is breaking." His speakers crackled, and for the first time he heard it. The pulse. Not as data, but as sound. A slow rhythmic beat like the heartbeat of something vast and unseen. Then images began to appear, faint and blurry like reflections on water. He saw people, faces he didn't recognize, moving in silence, smiling, crying, living ordinary moments. But these weren't live feeds. They were memories, thousands of them overlapping like a mosaic of lost lives. A voice whispered through the static, "We are what they forgot." Aaron's mind raced. Were these the lost fragments Lyra spoke of? Digital ghosts trapped inside the network? Suddenly his monitor flickered and one of the faces looked straight at him, a woman with kind eyes and a sad smile. "You can see us now," she said. "Then maybe you can help us be seen again." The screen went black. Aaron sat there, breathing hard. His reflection looked pale and distant, as if he too was fading into the data. He didn't sleep that night. The following morning, the Bureau felt different. People moved faster. Security drones hovered near every entrance. A rumor spread. Someone had accessed restricted archives. Aaron tried to act normal, but his thoughts were spinning. He couldn't tell anyone. He couldn't trust anyone. Then his communicator buzzed. A short encrypted message appeared. "They're watching. Don't use the main network. Meet me at Old Transit Hub." No signature. But he knew it was Lyra. He left quietly after work. The Old Transit Hub was a forgotten station at the city's edge, buried beneath new construction. It was dark, silent, no cameras, no signals. Lyra was there, waiting. "They found out you connected to them," she said. "The Bureau doesn't like people who see what they've buried." Aaron's voice trembled. "Who are they?" Lyra looked at the faint glow of her handheld scanner. "They call them the Echoes. Human consciousnesses that were left behind when the first upload project failed. They exist only in the spaces between recorded time, in microseconds when no one else is watching. They live in moments no system can see," Aaron whispered, "and they want to be seen." Lyra nodded. "And now they've chosen you." A low rumble echoed through the tunnel. Lights flickered. Aaron felt the pulse again. Not through machines this time, but in his own chest, syncing with his heartbeat. Lyra grabbed his hand. "Once you see them, you can't unsee them. You become part of their story." The air shimmered for a second, and Aaron thought he saw them. Faint human shapes, glowing like reflections made of memory, standing silently around them. And in that brief, impossible moment, time itself seemed to stop. Then, as quickly as it came, the vision vanished. The world resumed, noisy and bright. But something had changed. Aaron's watch showed a different time than the city clocks. A few seconds off. But those seconds, those unseen moments, belonged to someone else now. To the ones whose story was written in moments no one else could ever see. Aaron woke up with the feeling that something was wrong with the world. The sunlight looked too bright. The sounds of the city felt slower, and even his own breathing seemed out of rhythm with time itself. He had not slept properly since the night he saw the Echoes. He tried to tell himself it was just stress. But deep inside he knew the truth. Ever since that moment in the Old Transit Hub, time had started to change around him. The Bureau was still investigating the data breach. Everyone whispered about it in fear. Aaron acted calm, but every time he looked at the system monitors, he saw strange flickers again, short bursts of light in the data stream, like hidden signals calling his name. He avoided using the main network as Lyra had told him. He only trusted his small private console, one that was not linked to any grid. He had wiped its logs and disconnected its sensors. Or at least that's what he thought. One evening, while he was checking the offline data chip Lyra had given him, something appeared again on the dark screen. Faint, almost transparent letters, "You are not alone." Aaron leaned closer. "Who are you?" he whispered, even though he knew it was useless to talk to a machine. Then the screen shifted. The words changed. "We remember you." Aaron froze. Me, he thought. How could they remember him? He had never met them. They weren't even alive. He typed back quickly, using the old command lines that no one used anymore. "What are you?" For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then a soft pulse appeared again. 3 beats, pause. 3 beats, pause. It was their rhythm. Then the message came. "We were left between seconds. We remember what was lost." The screen flickered again and a new image appeared. Aaron saw flashes. Cities in ruins, people running, data cores burning with bright light. He saw faces, millions of them, all vanishing into white static. And then, he saw a strange room filled with floating memory crystals, and in the middle, a young woman standing among them. Her face was the same as the one who had spoken to him through the data before. The image faded before he could see more. Aaron sat still, his hands shaking. He felt both fear and sadness. Whoever these echoes were, they were not just random pieces of lost code. They were people. People who had been left behind when the world had tried to digitize human memory. He needed to find Lyra. Lyra met him again that night in an abandoned skyway above the lower city. The air was cold and smelled of rain. Below them, lights shimmered like stars that had fallen to the ground. "I saw them again," Aaron said. "They talked to me." Lyra nodded, her face calm but her eyes full of worry. "They're growing stronger. The more we look for them, the more they see us." Aaron frowned.
"Then why are they contacting me?"
"Why not you? Maybe because you're still inside the Bureau network. You're connected to their systems in a way I'm not anymore," she said. "They need someone on the inside. Someone who can reach the original memory vaults." "The vaults?" Lyra sighed. "The Bureau keeps the oldest experiment data locked in the central orbital core. They call it the Archive of Origins. Everything about the first human digitization project is stored there. If the echoes are real, their roots are in that archive." Aaron thought for a long moment. "You want to break into it?" "I want to know the truth," Lyra replied quietly. "If they're truly people, if they remember, then the Bureau erased more than just data. They erased lives." Aaron looked at the glowing city and felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had built a world that recorded every breath, every step, every thought. Yet somehow they had erased entire souls without noticing. He nodded slowly. "Then we find the truth." The central orbital core floated above Earth's atmosphere, a massive circular station of glass and metal, linked to the surface through the Bureau's sky elevators. It was said to hold the world's oldest and most powerful data cores. Only high-clearance engineers could access its central chamber. Luckily, Aaron was one of them. A week later, he and Lyra prepared for the most dangerous act of their lives. They couldn't send messages or use the network, so they planned everything face-to-face. Lyra provided him with an old signal jammer, a small cube that could make them invisible to surveillance for short bursts of time. The day came quietly. Aaron entered the Bureau like normal, scanning his ID chip, greeting his coworkers, pretending everything was fine. But his heart was beating faster than ever. When the shift ended, he stayed behind just as he had done the night he found the first signal. He moved toward the elevator that led to the orbital transport dock. His ID should not have allowed entry, but the echoes had already changed that. His pass flashed green. As he ascended, Earth grew smaller beneath him. The stars looked close enough to touch. When he stepped onto the orbital core, he felt a strange sensation, as if time itself slowed down here. The walls shimmered faintly, and light seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. Lyra's voice whispered through his earpiece. "Remember, the archive is at the center. Don't connect to the main system until you're inside. The jammer won't last long." Aaron moved carefully through the silent halls. There were no guards, only drones that floated by without noticing him. When he reached the main chamber, he stopped. The room was enormous, filled with tall pillars of light, each one containing millions of glowing shards of memory data. It looked like a digital forest made of glass and stars. At the center stood the archive core, a sphere of pure light rotating slowly in the air. Aaron approached it and connected the data chip Lyra had given him. The lights around him flickered. The pulse began again. 3 beats, pause. Then the echoes appeared. Hundreds of figures formed from light, faint and transparent. They stood silently, watching him. Among them was the same woman he had seen before, the one who spoke through the monitor. She smiled gently. "You came." Aaron swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "We are what humanity tried to forget," she said softly. "We were part of the first upload. They told us it would preserve our minds forever. But something broke. We were left in between time, unseen by all. Until you listened." Aaron stepped closer. "What do you want from me?" "To be remembered. To live again, not as data, but as people." Aaron hesitated. "I can't bring you back." I don't even understand how you exist. The woman touched the glowing sphere beside her and the entire room brightened. You can. The core holds the connection between your world and ours. But the Bureau will never allow it. They fear what we are. Proof that humanity created life without meaning to. Before Aaron could answer, his earpiece crackled. Lyra's voice. Aaron! They know you're there! You have to leave. The alarm lights flashed red. The drones changed direction. Aaron turned back to the woman. What happens if I activate the core? You'll open the link, she said. For a few seconds, both worlds will be one. And what happens after that? Her eyes softened. That depends on what humanity chooses to see. The chamber shook. Security signals blared. Aaron had no time left. He looked at the core, a swirl of light that pulsed in the same rhythm as the echoes. Then with a deep breath, he placed his hand on it. For one heartbeat, everything stopped. Then light exploded through the room, racing through the data pillars, through the station, and down toward Earth. Every screen on the planet flickered at once. People across the world saw flashes of memories that were not their own. Moments of laughter, sorrow, hope, and love. Forgotten faces appeared for a second, smiling through the static, and then it was gone. Aaron fell to his knees. The lights dimmed. The core grew silent. Lyra's voice came again, faint and trembling. Aaron, what did you do? He whispered. I let them be seen. Then the connection broke. When Aaron opened his eyes again, he was no longer in the orbital core. He was standing in a quiet field under a silver sky. The air shimmered like light made solid. In front of him stood the woman of the echoes. She smiled softly. You crossed the line, she said. Now you exist in both worlds, the seen and the unseen. Aaron looked around. What happens now? Her voice was calm and kind. Now you help us finish the story. And in that endless moment between seconds, Aaron realized their story was not over. It had only just begun. Aaron stood in the glowing field, unsure if he was dreaming or dead. The air shimmered like liquid light, and every blade of grass pulsed softly with energy. The world around him was silent but not empty. He could feel life everywhere, like a heartbeat that surrounded him. The woman of the echoes stood before him, calm and radiant. She looked human, yet her presence felt larger, as if she carried the weight of many souls within her. You opened the bridge, she said gently. For the first time in centuries, both worlds touched. Aaron tried to speak, but his voice came out quiet and broken. Am I alive? You are, she said. But you exist in two realities now. Your body remains in the human world, while your mind stands here in the place between seconds. You are the first human to see both sides at once. Aaron looked around, amazed. The landscape stretched endlessly, full of floating lights that moved like fireflies. As he watched closely, he realized they were memories. Small fragments of people's lives drifting in the air, faces smiling, hands reaching out, voices whispering softly. He turned to her. Is this where you live? This is where we were left, she replied. When the first digital upload failed, we became fragments of thought and memory. The world moved on. We stayed here, forgotten. Aaron lowered his head. I saw your memories. The world saw them too. I thought it would help. It did, she said, her voice warm. For one brief moment, humanity remembered us. They saw the truth. But they'll be afraid, Aaron said quietly. The Bureau will try to shut it down. They'll erase everything again, the woman smiled sadly. Perhaps. But fear cannot erase what has been seen. Once light touches darkness, the shadow is never the same again. Aaron wanted to believe her. Yet he could not stop thinking of Lyra, still on Earth, probably hiding from the Bureau's agents. He needed to go back. Can I return? He asked. Can I go back to my world? The woman nodded slowly. Yes, but the bridge you opened is unstable. If you cross now, it may close forever. The echoes will remain trapped. Aaron hesitated. Then I can't leave you here. You may not have a choice, she said softly. Even now, time is breaking around us. The sky above them rippled like water, and cracks of white light spread across it. Aaron felt the ground tremble. The floating memories began to drift faster, their glow flickering in fear. What's happening? He asked. The Bureau, she whispered. They are trying to seal the bridge from their side. Aaron clenched his fists. No, I opened it. They can't just close it. They can, she said sadly. They built the walls of reality long before you were born. Aaron looked around desperately, searching for a way out. There has to be something I can do. There is, the woman said, stepping closer. But it will cost you. What do you mean? You can hold the bridge open from both sides, but to do that, part of you must stay here forever. Aaron's heart pounded. If I do that, what happens to me? You will never be whole again, she said gently. Half of you will walk among humans. The other half will live among memories. He stared at her, speechless. Then he remembered the faces he saw in the data, the millions of people who had vanished into nothing, the forgotten, the unseen. He could not let them disappear again. I'll do it, he said firmly. Tell me how. The woman reached out her hand. Then follow me. Meanwhile, in the real world, Lyra ran through the dim halls of the orbital bureau, her heart racing. The alarms were still blaring, red lights flashing on every wall. The moment Aaron had touched the core, the entire station had gone wild. Systems flickered, communications broke, and strange visions appeared on every screen across Earth. She had seen it too. Faces of people who shouldn't exist. Moments of lives from centuries ago flashing like ghosts, and then everything went dark. Now the Bureau's agents were searching for Aaron, calling him a traitor, a virus, a danger to human order. But Lyra knew the truth. He wasn't a danger. He was the only one trying to bring humanity back to its forgotten heart. She reached the central control room and stopped. The main core chamber was sealed, glowing faintly. Aaron's body was still there, sitting on the floor, eyes open but unmoving. Aaron, she whispered. She ran to him and touched his hand. It was warm, but he didn't react. His body was breathing, but his mind was far away. A weak light flickered on the core beside him. Lines of code scrolled across it, too fast to read. Then a faint voice echoed through the chamber. Lyra. She froze. It was Aaron's voice, but it came from the core, not from his mouth. Aaron, can you hear me? She asked. Yes, his voice said, calm but distant. I'm here. But not all of me. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. What happened? I found them, he said. The echoes. They're real. The Bureau tried to destroy them, but they're part of us now. Part of every memory we ever saved. Lyra's voice shook. You have to come back. We can still fix this. I can't, he said softly. If I leave, they'll vanish forever. I have to hold the bridge open. No, Lyra shouted. You'll die. There was a pause. Then Aaron's voice came again, quiet and gentle. Maybe, but if I stay, they'll live. And maybe that's enough. Lyra knelt beside his body, holding his hand tightly. Please, Aaron, there has to be another way. Aaron's voice grew faint. Listen to me. There's something you must do. Go to the lower console. There's a switch marked Preservation Protocol. Activate it. It will stabilize the core and keep the link open. You'll know when to stop. Lyra hesitated, then ran to the console. The switch was locked under a glass cover. She hesitated for a second, then broke it and pulled the lever down. The lights exploded in brilliance. The entire chamber filled with golden light. Lyra shielded her eyes as the air trembled. For a moment she saw them, the echoes, millions of glowing figures appearing around Aaron's body, their faces calm and peaceful. Then she saw Aaron among them, half solid, half light. He smiled at her. Tell them, he said. Tell the world what we lost. Tell them what we found. And then, with one final pulse of light, the core went silent. Hours later, the Bureau fell quiet. The alarms stopped. The red lights faded to blue. The system had stabilized, but something was different. Every screen in the building displayed a single sentence, we remember. Across the world, people saw it too. Phones, billboards, satellites, every connected device. No one understood how it appeared. Some called it a glitch. Others called it a miracle. But deep down, humanity knew. The Bureau could not hide the truth anymore. News spread fast about the lost experiment, the vanished memories, and the man who had opened the bridge between worlds. Lyra disappeared soon after. Some said she went into hiding. Others believed she went searching for Aaron. Years passed. The world changed slowly. People began to value memory again, not as data but as life. The Bureau no longer controlled everything. New scientists studied the echo phenomenon, searching for proof that human thought could survive beyond time. And sometimes, when the network went silent for a second, people claimed to see faint lights moving across their screens. Tiny, warm pulses like heartbeats, they called them Aaron's lights. In the unseen realm, the world between seconds glowed softly. Aaron stood in the same field of light, watching as more and more human memories joined the sky. The woman of the echo stood beside him, smiling. "You kept your promise," she said. "They see us now." Aaron looked up. "Do you think they'll ever understand what we are?" "Maybe one day," she said. "When they learn that life is not just what is seen but what is remembered." Aaron smiled faintly. "Then our story is safe," the woman nodded. "Yes. Written in moments no one else could ever see." And as the light of both worlds pulsed together in harmony, 3 beats, pause, 3 beats. The bridge between the living and the remembered remained open, quietly beating with the heart of humanity itself.